Hello, I'm Richard Caban, and this is On the Spot Movie Reviews. The reason we're doing this with me and Jennifer Caban, who's behind the camera right now, is because she and I, we don't really get into arguments that much, but when we do get into arguments, it's usually about movies. So we decided to test our marriage and put these movies on the web. What do you think about it? Does that sound good, baby?
I think it sounds great.
Great.
I'm ready for the test.
Okay. So, today's movie, what we're going to go see, is The Other Guys, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. And this film is a film that's directed by Adam McKay, who also directed Step Brothers, and he directed Anchorman, which is one of my favorite Will Ferrell comedies. I think that's the best film he's ever done. So my expectation of this film is very high this time, so let's go see it, right? The Other Guys, from what we've seen from the trailer, is about Samuel Jackson and Dwayne Johnson seem to be the two hero cops, and then you have Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, who really want to be those kind of hero lethal weapon. So I've tried really not to look at anything, read any reviews. I just kind of want to go in there fresh, because I feel like with comedies, if you read too much or you see too much, it kind of ruins the whole comedy.
Well, I thought that it looked like it was a funny movie, like a really funny concept, but what really makes me want to see it is that we were just at Kevin Smith's 40th birthday, and he just directed a movie called Cop Out, and Will Ferrell apparently and Mark Wahlberg were scheduled to begin that film Cop Out, but then they wanted too much money, so then they went across the street and they did another buddy cop movie, which is The Other Guys, which is the movie we're about to see, and Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan ended up doing Cop Out.
And as a person who's seen Cop Out, and I'm also a Kevin Smith fan, Cop Out is not a very good movie. But he didn't write the film, so I think the problem with Cop Out was just that it didn't know what it wanted to be. And hearing some stories about the making of that film from Kevin Smith, it didn't seem like he had a lot of control over the actors.
He told a lot of funny stories, especially about Bruce Willis. So
now you're not a very big Will Ferrell fan, right?
no, not at all.
Well, you did like that ice skating movie. What was that called?
Yeah, because I mostly like that, the kid that was in Napoleon Dynamite. He was in that.
Well, you didn't like Napoleon Dynamite, though.
No. Are you a Will Ferrell fan?
I don't see a Will Ferrell movie and say, yeah, I need to see him, but I don't mind him. But it's funny because Adam McKay, the director of this movie, he directed Step Brothers. And that was a movie that when you and I first tried to watch it on video, we both got to the halfway point, and you were bored with it. I couldn't get into it. I just wasn't into it at all. And I kept watching it. I kept tuning into it, and then I find myself now I'm a big fan of Step Brothers, because I think it's a really funny movie. I just think the first time around I wasn't connected to it as I am now, so I really like that. So I'm looking forward to this film. Okay, we just saw the movie, and the reason I'm standing outside of the car next to Jen's Toyota Prius is because this was the third co-star along with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. In terms of the movie, I thought it was a really funny comedy in parts. There's been a lot of movies like this in the past. There was one movie with Robert De Niro and Eddie Murphy. That movie didn't work for this. This movie works better. The problem with a movie with a comedy like this, where it's an action comedy, is I think sometimes they get tripped up and they focus too much on what Hitchcock would call the MacGuffin, which is the main plot line of what the bad guys are looking for, what they're searching for. Hitchcock called it the MacGuffin because for him it wasn't important. A lot of movies get caught up in this MacGuffin and they feel like they need to explain every detail of it. A lot of the pacing of the story kind of gets screwed up. I thought it was a really funny movie. I thought there were some really funny parts in this film. Comedies are hard because you don't want to say too much, but there are a lot of funny lines. If I had a problem with anyone in this film, I thought Will Ferrell was great. Mark Wahlberg for me was the person that kept pulling me out of the movie, because through the whole film I just felt like he was just screaming and screaming and screaming. He was the thing that stuck out of the film for me. It's a big action movie, so it's worth seeing in the theaters. There's other movie comedies and action comedies, when you mix them together, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. This is a case where I'm in the middle. Something happened in the last 20 minutes for me where I wasn't with the movie anymore. This summer for me has been a little bit of a letdown, and this movie is just kind of right in the middle.
I think that when the credits are the best part of a movie, that the movies fail. The credits were really interesting because they gave a lot of facts about financial scams. That's not giving anything away to say that it has to do with the financial markets. I thought that was really interesting. And then Rich talked a lot about Mark Wahlberg and his part, and I agree that, like, he screamed throughout the whole movie and that it got really tiring. Like, it's okay if it happened in a couple scenes, but he never really spoke. There were a couple funny lines, but don't waste your time going to see this movie. It's not stupid enough to be funny. It's not smart enough to be funny. There were a lot of good one-liners about Priuses, which I appreciated since I just bought the Prius. I don't think that you should see a movie to see 3 funny lines and some interesting statistics in the end credits. It was boring, and I didn't like it at all.
I think I like this movie a lot better than you did, because if I were to compare this to what we've seen so far, maybe above A-Team, because I know you really like the A-Team this year, but I thought this was a lot more fun than the A-Team.
I was bored by the whole plot. I was tired of the story. Another thing that you made comments on the last movie that we saw is that they were unfair to one of the characters because you thought it was from a female perspective. Let me tell you about being unfair to all the female characters. When you have Eva Mendes coming downstairs and saying with a straight face, "Oh yeah, honey, I say goodbye to you every morning and I open up my blouse and I say, baby, these boobs are for you. They may not be the biggest you've seen, but they're the perkiest," and like this. It's not funny, it's degrading. And like...
See, but I think that was part of the joke, though.
They didn't know if they were playing it realistically or over the top.
But
they couldn't make up their mind. They kept going back and forth.
There are a lot of jokes that fall flat. There's a lot of lines that actually are very funny. Like I said, I'm not on the fence in this movie. I definitely did like it, and I would recommend anyone to see it. Did you like Will Ferrell in this movie?
No, because I think that, because all of his comedies tend to have this, like, over the top. They didn't know what type of comedy they were doing, I felt. The A-Team was fun. Everybody committed 100%. Like, they all knew who their character was. They took that character and they embodied it, and like it was consistent, and they all the actors were having fun with their roles. I think that so far is the funniest action comedy of the summer. I would put Night and Day above this movie. You don't go see a movie for a few funny lines.
You just don't like their sense of comedy.
But I don't think that you can base a movie on a few funny lines. There was no plot. It was confusing. I didn't know who the bad guys were.
The movie as a whole was still a pretty funny movie.
No, because things just happened. How you can possibly, like, say, go see this because it was not a well put together, well thought out, coherent, or consistent movie where I thought that the characters or the director knew what they wanted. That being said, there were a few funny one-liners. There were definitely...
I think there were more than a few, though. I think you're saying a few, but I think there were a lot of funny scenes in this movie.
No, it's sort of like, okay, so you watch Saturday Night Live. You watch a lot of scenes that have no humor in them whatsoever because you're waiting for that one special moment that everybody's going to talk about the next day. And that's it. It was just like you sat through like an hour and a half to wait for the one funny thing that was going to happen in this movie. It wasn't a good movie.
I think I laughed more at this than I did at the A-Team or Night and Day. If you're a Will Ferrell fan, I think you're going to enjoy it. I still feel Will Ferrell had a personality and a fully developed character, and Mark Wahlberg didn't.
There were lots of lines that were offensive and that were just not funny and that really felt out of touch to me. What about the black cop trying to teach the little kids? And
I thought that was fun. I did laugh at that.
That was pretty stupid.
I thought that was funny.
We've heard that a million times.
I know, but not in that way. The way the cop said it, though. I thought that was funny.
I say, don't see the movie. Don't waste your time. You can watch it on video. There's nothing special. Even for an action film, there's nothing that happens that's spectacular that you haven't seen a million times before that you need to see on a big screen.
And I say if you want to go out and have a good time and just get a few laughs, a few fun laughs, and not to think too hard, then I think you'll enjoy this movie. Anyway, I'm Richard Caban.
And I'm Jennifer Caban for On the Spot.
On the Spot Movies. See you next time.